We're supposedly live.
Let's go.
Gentlemen, Logan, Matt, we are live. Meeting you on a Friday. Thank you guys for waiting a day. I got back from Abu Dhabi last night. 26-hour travel day. Those are not fun. Fun is not the word I would use to describe a 26-hour travel day.
You crushed it over in Abu Dhabi. I watched your. I put the first item on the list was your debate with Justin Sun, founder of Tron, Bitcoin versus crypto. Thought you did great.
Thank you. It was a fun event. Justin was actually charming behind the scenes, behind the stage there. It's very interesting to meet him in person.
You can't be a good scammer unless you got a little bit of charm to you.
It was. Oh, you put Rob in the thing. I thought we were going to ninja launch on the freaks.
Oh, we can go to the big shot now, Paul.
Rob's with us. There he is.
Well, I had to tag him in the tweet, right?
Yeah,
what, not going to put him in the title?
Is this your guys' first podcast?
Do you like what I named the episode, Marty?
I did. Steady at 100K.
I think we got 400K titles out of this. I think it's 4 in a row now.
It should be good for SEO. You know.
There you go. Everyone's an engagement whore.
The Bitcoin 100K podcast. That's what we're becoming.
Cheers.
Cheers.
How are we doing? How are the vibes in Nashville?
Ride or die freak Rob Hamilton joining us here from Bitcoin Park.
It's good to be here, man. The park's a magical place. You know, you get to bring your dog into the office. You get to pick up your raw milk. It's kind of like the best Bitcoin hub of a city. Really, Nashville's really just popping off.
Yeah, there really isn't a second best.
No. Yeah. People try, though.
Yeah. Attempts are made.
It's cute. It's cute what you guys are saying over there, but we know. We know that Abu Dhabi is the capital of Bitcoin now.
Well,
Apparently.
That was I love that phrase or meme or whatever, the capital of capital.
The capital of capital. That was at the Abu Dhabi Finance Week event. I stayed for a day after the Bitcoin event, and it was Abu Dhabi Finance Week, and it was like their blockchain crypto day. I went to go check that out. It was interesting. The capital of capital.
Love to see it. We already have Ride or Die Freak Mav21 in the live chat just zapped us 42,000 sats. Thank you, sir. rhr.tv/stream if you want to join the Ride or Dies in the Bitcoin enabled Zap stream chat.
These zaps are the what do we call it? Unit bias of zaps has not changed with Bitcoin over 100K. These are healthy zaps here, freaks. That's 42.
The math is so easy. The math is so easy now.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's the easiest fucking math.
You just like, oh, that's $42.
Boom. Thank you, sir.
Like 3-digit Moscow time.
I will say, if you use Nostr more, like you just start thinking in sats, and you don't even have like years of arguments over like what is going to be the logo, like what is the symbol for sats, like is it going to be bits or sats or this or that, and like it's just freedom units. You know, it's just like every client displays it differently, and it's just like I just sent you 1,000 or I sent you 2,000. Like the standard doesn't need to have a set symbol. It's just the standard. It's like, how much does that bread cost? That bread costs 42.
This morning, John Carvalho posted a BIP. It was to rename Sats Bitcoin.
Yeah, I mean, look, people are going to try and do all these different things. I think you probably end up confusing more people. But the most important thing, I think, is to coalesce on the lowest unit of Bitcoin, regardless of what you want to call that. I mean, there's been proposals to call it bits. I think that's confusing because bits already exist. That's 100 sats. I actually could never conceptualize bits until I started thinking in sats first, because it's way easier to think of bits as 100 sats.
Multiple of it, right.
Than whatever it is of Bitcoin. I don't even know what the number is. I'm not going to do the math live.
A million bits in a Bitcoin.
Is there 1 million bits in a Bitcoin?
Well, if it's 100, there's 100 million sats in a Bitcoin.
There you go. But you did the math backwards.
Yeah, I did. Right? Totally. You go to the granular unit, build your way up.
I do think it's funny that there's a particular account on X that has tried to use the vacuum of me deleting my X to try and make bits the standard, and has horribly failed, and just goes to show.
Don't make fun of Grubbles. Don't make fun of Grubbles in a slide roundabout way. Just call him out. It is funny. Grubbles, I think Grubbles will die on the Bits Hill.
He's been the big,
but he 100% thought that like the vacuum of me leaving X like gave him his opportunity, and it did not.
He's still fighting every day. He's on the Bits fight. Grubbles, we love you.
Grubbles, use Nostr. Come use Nostr, and I will. I'll zap you 100 sats, which we could call a bit.
You can get a liquid integration with Nostr, right? It's the same pub key. You technically could do that, couldn't you?
Yeah, but what people don't realize is the key with zaps is the zap receipt. It's the signal.
Totally.
And that's why it works really well with LNURL, despite all the faults and trade-offs of LNURL.
Right.
Like you can't easily do zaps with Bolt 12. You can't easily do zaps with on-chain. Mm-hmm. Like it works really well with that data exchange.
Totally. You need some sort of relay that's sitting on top of the liquid side to do it.
Then you're in the same situation again.
Right. Then you're just getting another band in.
That's like the negative LNURL is that you need the always on web server, but that's the advantage with zaps.
You made an interesting point to me the other week about Nostr, that the social network is like trying to say you like blockchain but not Bitcoin. You need the social network for Nostr to have all the other use cases make sense for your web of trust.
Yeah. In the web of trust, verifiable reputations with shitposts.
Right. Proof of work.
Yeah, it's important. People are sleeping on it though. Coming back from Abu Dhabi, the suit world is caught hook, line, and sinker on crypto and real world assets. That's where everything seems to be going.
We still have our edge.
It was illuminating to see it up close and personal. I mean, even at shout out to the Bitcoin Magazine guys. It was a great conference. I think it's important to expand Bitcoin to these parts of the world, and not only obviously Bitcoin's already there, but expand a particular line of thinking and approach to Bitcoin. But even at the MENA conference, there was a lot of talk about crypto and DeFi and all that stuff. People are still very confused out there, or maybe we're just confused. Are we the olds?
No, we're right.
Why are we right?
We've been humbly right this entire time.
I think it's just natural though that like you have a bunch of new market participants. It's like the financial version. I'm new to Bitcoin and I'm here to fix it.
Yeah.
Right. And there's going to be capital formation over there and like things that are going on, but it's all value accretive to Bitcoin. I think this this time around, the narratives are totally different because people aren't stacking real world asset tokens on their like nation state balance sheets, right? Like that isn't like the narrative. Like everyone understands Bitcoin is the end game and you have these other use cases, but like Bitcoin is the actual
doing like a Solana strategic reserve.
Yeah, no, there isn't a strategic Ripple reserve anywhere, right? Like that you would think that why isn't Ripple just buying up all of their own Ripple, right? It's it's because everyone knows the real game is just to get Bitcoin.
I will say, I'm just going to put this out there, and hopefully I'm wrong. But like the PayPal mafia running the government, I wouldn't be surprised if we have a government shitcoin, some kind of USD stablecoin shitcoin thing.
I mean,
and then you integrate it into X, and you use Peter Thiel to verify everyone's identity, and you have like a.
I mean, they had a real impact on the election, right? I forgot the name of the super PAC, but it was Coinbase and Andreessen Horowitz lobbying specifically for the crypto industry at large. So I think I'd agree with you that there's going to be, if David Sachs is the crypto czar, you're naturally going to have a bit of a, pull towards enabling more of that stuff.
David Sachs is part of the paper. Like I agree with David Sachs more than I disagree with him.
Totally.
On pretty much everything, but I like vehemently disagree with him on like 2%. And I mean, in honor of, I think another big thing that happened today was we had Saifedean on the largest Bitcoin podcast in the world.
He crushed it.
Joe Kernan's podcast on CNBC.
Joe was fanboying a little bit. Did you guys catch that? It was like a bit. He looked a little nervous.
This whole, yeah, I mean, because Joe's actually a ride or die. This whole like reinvention of Mark Andreessen, A16Z, Elon Musk, Peter Thiel. Like Mark was just on Barry Weiss's podcast, and then before that he was on Rogan's podcast. In honor of Safe, I would just say like A16Z is the mother asshole that all this other bullshit came out of. They were early investors in Facebook, early investors in Twitter. They created PayPal. Like all the dystopian big tech shit that everyone complains about, all links back to A16Z. And these guys now are in Mar-a-Lago. They're in the White House. Like it is, there's going to be some good benefits, and then there's going to be a lot of infuriating bullshit, I think.
I think
we'll see it play
the
out.
fox is in
And
the
we'll
hen
have
house. Is that what
RHR
you're saying?
every week as
I
it
think
happens.
there's a certain sense of all the liquidity ultimately goes to Bitcoin anyway. Right.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I think like in the long run, like the Bitcoin value prop and thesis. So like, are we right or are we the crazy ones? I think we just have a longer time horizon on the value of Bitcoin specifically and why it's important. Right. And I think that all of these other kind of like sideshow games are more for like getting immediate return for your LPs, which like that's their prerogative as a venture fund, but it's going about it in ways that we think are short-sighted in the longer arc of history that Bitcoin is the right bet.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's two pieces here. First of all, I mean, I've always been very consistent that I don't like shitcoins were never a threat to Bitcoin. They're a threat on naive users who speculate on them and lose a ton of money, right? It's like the problem is that retail gets fleeced 99% of the time.
Yeah.
They've never been a real threat to Bitcoin itself, and that remains true. And then the other piece is, Grant, our partner, Marty and I's partner at 1031, has this great chart that he shows that A16Z is literally a zero interest rate phenomenon. Like you can look at the chart, you can plot where interest rates went to zero and money became incredibly cheap, and that's when A16Z was founded. And in a post-Bitcoin world, money is incredibly hard and money is incredibly tight, and you don't have easy money that you can speculate on all tons of bullshit because you have real opportunity costs. And we're quickly entering that world. And so as that happens, hopefully what we start to see is you see better allocation of capital. You don't see, as much crazy bullshit. Like people are still going to gamble. There's still going to be like insane, frustrating shit, but it should reduce just naturally by that opportunity cost.
It should be an interesting graph if you laid the interest rates and like the fund returns with also the Bitcoin price for the opportunity cost, right? If you were just, and the also, I think an important thing when you're making investment decisions, the lower emotional cost and like psychological tax on thinking about your investments. If it's Bitcoin, you have volatility, but in the long run, like over multiple cycles, it is orders of magnitude improving versus concentration risk on an individual like execution of something. I think it's just a total different investment paradigm. So Bitcoin is the hurdle rate, and especially you have these market buys that are happening all the time from publicly traded miners, MicroStrategy, nation states. There's putting that in the context of the actual hurdle rate and where we think Bitcoin's going in the near future, definitely puts a much larger hurdle for people to try and jump over to play easier games.
Yeah. No, and I think we've seen this. I mean, not only for fund performance, like using Bitcoin as the hurdle rate and having that anchoring idea as a driving force between how you allocate capital. And when you get like the layer deep, the companies that we're allocating capital to, they have that in mind with their Bitcoin treasuries, and that's an unlock that Grant's written about this as well too. A Bitcoin treasury being the fourth lever of equity value growth, and it's just been fun to see, particularly over the last 2 years, the companies that we've invested in. And Rob, I won't put you on the spot. Feel comfortable to disclose whatever you want to, but like the companies that we allocate to, that take a portion of that money, put it in Bitcoin, put it on their balance sheet, and then reap the benefits of Bitcoin's monetization by extending their runway, but by just using a better asset is fascinating. And many of these funds are not clued into this at all.
Yeah. I mean, we have a Bitcoin treasury. Yeah. Like they're very meaningful to be able to hold on to that Bitcoin and see its price appreciation increase in value. Just gives us more optionality. Absolutely. Like I think it's an important cash flow management decision though, and understanding how much should be in cash for your immediate, your immediate needs versus your longer term stuff. But I think it should be, you're already very highly correlated when it comes to the success of Bitcoin being a Bitcoin business. And like if Bitcoin goes to zero or breaks or whatever, like you're already entirely linked with that. So the differentiation of risk with Bitcoin price is much lower if you're specifically in a Bitcoin company domain, because you're already anchored to Bitcoin as a protocol working, because you're building something on top of it.
Yeah, I mean, OpenSats' treasury strategy is just entirely Bitcoin. We just hold Bitcoin.
Right.
Just to the listeners that are confused or maybe need a little bit of context, Rob is one of the co-founders of AnchorWatch, and they're bringing insured Bitcoin self-custody solutions to the market, and they are a 1031 portfolio company. So 1031 is proudly supporting AnchorWatch. I just want to do a quick shout out to Paulie, who also zapped 21,000 sats, saying Merry Christmas, nice hat. We have John, who zapped 21,000 sats, and then a random NPub that I don't know their username, zapped 21,000 sats. Thank you, freaks, for your continued support.
You're not going to read out the NPub, all the characters?
I'm not Marty. and freaks, we see your comments. Most of them are on the list, so we're going to talk about them as we go along.
Yeah. All right. Let's jump it. Or before we jump to the list, let's not forget the dashboard. Let's go to Clark's dashboard. Looking right now, I updated Firefox, and they have this new feature where you can put your tabs on the left side. It's changed my life in terms of, but it does make it harder to open up a new tab. So I've got Clark's dashboard up. Current price of Bitcoin, 101,420 cuck bucks is one Bitcoin. 100 million sats. What is that, a million bits? I can't even do the bits math now. One cuck buck's going to get you 986 sats.
You don't have to do bits math. Sats.
we are at a $2.01 trillion market cap. We are at block height 874,609, which means we are 335 blocks away from the next difficulty adjustment, estimated to be December 15th, so this Sunday in a couple days here. Upwards adjustment of 4.4%. Hash rate is increasing. That'll take us to a new difficulty all-time high. Blocks been coming in at 9 minutes and 34 seconds on average. Clark's teeny weeny mempool has 144,087 transactions in it. If we go over to mempool.space, we'll see that their mempool has loading 280,454 transactions. Fees not too high. If you have a high priority transaction, want to get it in the next block, you want to attach a 12 sat per VByte fee to that. Medium priority 11. What is that? What
is that in bits?
No idea. A tenth of a bit, a little 12% of a bit.
Sorry, continue.
0.12 bits. Medium priority 11 sats, low priority 9 sats. That is the state of the network. We're pumping.
I just met Clark Moody today, actually.
First time
I got on the call with him. Yeah, first time. But
he's been to the park.
Has he? Yeah. I didn't get a chance to see him, but we didn't talk about his very normal mempool size. We don't, it's the default. It's at the top of the bell curve. It's like right on the meat. Like, yeah, it's totally. It's a very respectable mempool.
That's average.
Yeah, average. He's an average because it's the default mempool.
Okay. Should be happy with your average mempool.
The size of the mempool doesn't matter. It's how you process the transactions.
No, the funny part of the whole thing was, we were greater, like the mempools were larger than the default mempool size. But Marty every week would just read what Clark's number of transaction was. And it was basically the same because it's full the entire fucking time. So I was like, you can't do this anymore. And Marty used it effectively as a deflection strategy. He attacks Clark as a deflection strategy.
We have to lift
of him reading that number, and he still reads it every fucking week. It's a completely useless stat.
We have to lift up our mempool buddies. You gotta lift. Can't be mempool shaming.
Yeah, Clark's been running the dashboard for many years. It's an integral part of the show. I'm not gonna.
We appreciate you, Clark. Thank you for running the dashboard. I use it every day.
Thank you, Clark. Speaking
and by the way, Freak, that's completely donation supported. So if you go to the dashboard, you can press the big donate button and zap them some sats. It does go a long way.
Yeah.
He also has a bot on Nostr you can zap.
A lot easier. Just hit a button and zap.
Yeah.
Frictionless.
We're getting back to doing the show the right way, which is front loading it with software disclosures. First one is WabiSabi. Has a vulnerability disclosure. It's a pretty big one. Malicious coordinators could de-anonymize individual CoinJoin users. So this vulnerability was disclosed earlier this week, and it allows malicious coordinators to de-anonymize users' coins and link inputs to outputs, compromising the privacy of CoinJoin participants. Users are urged to update their instances immediately.
Yeah, I mean, the update doesn't really fix it. I think I can sleep relatively easy at night that I was one of the few that were talking about this, just from like a threat model perspective with these centralized coordinators. None of the centralized coordinators that have ever existed protects you from the coordinator itself from a privacy perspective. The coordinator does not take custody, so the coordinator can't take your money, but you are never getting privacy. You should never assume you're getting privacy from the coordinator. It's a very trusted relationship. And this is a in practice example of why. So in this case, basically like the way WabiSabi works is you can have many different amounts, and the coordinator is supposed to tell you what is I believe the maximum amount that the size can be for a UTXO to be privatized, or the probability link to be broken. But the client doesn't verify that doesn't change per user, so you can send all different users different amounts, and then you could basically tag the users. Now, I will say that obviously, Wasabi post Samurai case moved to this anyone can run coordinator model, which changes the threat model a bit, right? Because there's many different coordinators, and who you choose depends on who you trust. It's not like it's just Wasabi the business. That being said, the NIM that runs the main Wasabi coordinator, I've never met in person, but just based on his like online digital, reputation, I actually probably trust him more than I trust the original Wasabi coordinator. So there's been no proof that this has been done in practice, that this has actually been used to de-anonymize people. I do not think this guy's attacking people and basically actively trying to hurt their privacy. But it remains to be said that if you're using a centralized coordinator system, you are trusting that coordinator with your privacy. They are not in the threat model of protection.
Yeah, be aware.
And that NIM, by the way, because you have to like manually choose which coordinator. The one I'm talking about is Crew, KRUW. He by far has the most volume in Wasabi right now, and then the second most is Ginger Wallet, which is ex-Wasabi people, and they charge a fee. Crew does not charge a fee, so Crew has way more volume. But I honestly think he's just doing it because he believes in the movement. So, yeah, that's my 2 cents. 2 sets.
Yeah, there's a trade-off too, though, with the decentralized coordinator model is then you're chasing liquidity because you want a larger crowd to hide in, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like those trade-offs where, and then everyone aggregates to the free one, which makes sense.
Yeah, the free one with the most volume, because there's multiple free ones.
Right.
Yeah, and once that one goes down, no one will probably move.
Right.
And they still don't let you run your own dojo. Or something your like dojo.
They use compact block filters, right? That's their approach for the node.
Wait, dojo is like a Samurai now, Ashiguro or whatever.
Yeah,
which you can run your own dojo with Ashiguro. That's the only way to use.
There's no equivalent in the WabiSabi.
No, Wasabi you use a light wallet, and it's using compact block filters, and that aspect I think is actually probably pretty private from like a network level. And this is specifically using the coinjoin. You can use a local node. I think they have knots built in. The local node will serve the compact block filter, so you can use your own node if you want. But I actually think their light model with compact block filters, and they constantly turn on and off. They constantly create new Tor connections. It's got Tor built in. Is actually like pretty strong. It's just hard to you can't really do it on mobile. It's very heavy. But since Wasabi is desktop only, it's actually a pretty strong method.
It's all trade-offs.
This is hilarious.
Yeah, John is. Go on.
Bitcoin in space too. In the Zap.stream live chat is saying, I did a Wasabi transaction through Crew. My Sats had a penis enlarger ad written into the UTXO. Is that op return data there? If it's no fee, is that how they're making their money? There are a lot of people to spend on the transactions.
I mean, I have not seen that. But
is that true?
Like, feel free to. I mean, I don't want you to dox yourself, but I mean, I would like to see the transaction in question. So maybe if it's constantly happening, then do it again with something that doesn't give up your privacy and show transaction. I mean, anyone can just check the chain for Wasabi transactions. They're pretty obvious. It's like 400 inputs.
Yeah.
So people can easily tell if that's the case. And I would just say people should go check. I have not checked. I also doubt Crew is doing.
He was joking.
Yeah. See, this is why Ron Burgundy, Marty just.
This is why you read the Zap stream and all people Zap money.
And then I have to defend it. The John is posting in the comments that Crew is Nostr only, and he is not active on Nostr. And his NPub is in the comments. But
Sorry,
I think you can just Crew.
Sorry, Crew, for not getting the joke. That's on me. Be aware. Wasabi vulnerability. You can be de-anonymized. Weigh the trade-offs that Matt just described.
All caps. Matt wants to see the penis. Matt likes the peen.
This is a pretty big disclosure on the Lightning Network. It was choreographed earlier this year, and I believe last month we were made aware, or 2 months ago we were made aware that this disclosure was coming. But David Harding took to Delving Bitcoin to announce the irrevocable fees stealing from Lightning Network using revoked commitment transactions. This is a pretty big one. The first sentence pretty much says it all. Old versions of all 4 major Lightning Network implementations would accept a series of operations that could allow a miner to steal up to 98% of a channel's funds. Additionally, honest users performing entirely normal operations could obtain states that could be used similarly, although the worst case loss would almost always be less than 98%. So this was a pretty big vulnerability out there. I believe it was initially, Logan, if you scroll down to the way bottom, there is a, not the way bottom, where was it? I just had it up here. Timeline. So it was discovered in Eclair at the end of January of this year, and also CLN and NDK. Then it was discovered in LND a day later, and then the maintainers began discussing solutions. They were made aware of this. Eclair merged a solution at the end of February, LDK the beginning of May, LND at the end of July. And so all of these major implementations have patched this bug. And so just be aware, if you're running old implementations, old versions of these implementations, you could be vulnerable to this particular draining attack.
This is always just in general, as you get higher up in the layers, you want to be more on top of the latest software. Right.
Yeah. What
do we got going on?
Paul, did you just turn on the TV behind us?
No.
Oh, it just turned on, right?
Oh, somebody's trying to connect.
I can connect. That'll be interesting.
Trying to connect.
We're under attack over here at Bitcoin Park.
Yeah.
I'm about to start casting.
I think specifically this was like a miner. If a miner was your counterparty, they could attack you, right?
I believe so, right? This was mining pool specific.
So it's like the miner has a channel open with you, they could attack you. Or if you wanted to do, they called it like a vandalism transaction.
Mm.
Like I could, if I was your counterparty, I could just donate a bunch of money to miners and a miner would mine it.
Oh, got it.
And
you
then
could
we
basically
both
push
lose
it
the
through.
money.
We both lose,
Yeah.
but you could. Interesting. It's a way to kind of. Yeah, and this would go do one, updating the node in the software to fix this, but miners have an important role for sequencing those transactions. And a lot of the security models just in general are assuming that you have a counterparty and you guys are both at the whim of the miners.
Right. And that the counterparty isn't the actual miner,
Right.
like a large mining pool.
It's almost
Here's
like a
how-
murder. Yeah.
Here's how David explains theft versus vandalism. For Mallory or Alice to profitably steal from Bob, they must mine a block either by themselves or in cooperation with the miner. However, they may at any time simply broadcast a revoked state transaction that allows any miner to receive a portion of Bob's funds. This is vandalism rather than theft. Even honest miners are expected to confirm revoked states and receive victim funds. If Mallory or Alice broadcast a revoked state, they will lose the 1% of the channel funds they have remaining in the channel's latest state. This should serve as a disincentive against vandalism. However, there are vandals in this world who are willing to pay a 1-98 ratio to hurt other people. So this 1% disincentive does not represent strong
In terms of
security.
vandalism, that's like, I feel like a super cheap vandalism price.
1 to 98. Is it
like there's people that go to jail for vandalism, spend like years in jail. It's like, oh, you just have to pay 1% of the sats in the channel. It's like a way.
I do that all day to drain it.
So beware. Make sure you update your Lightning Network implementation if you haven't already, so you don't.
This
get
was
drained.
David Harding's disclosure.
Yeah,
I thought Anton Riard also had one. Was this related to that, or?
I have him next on the list. What is the difference?
Yeah, what's the difference?
Marty, read the next one.
So, I guess Antoine did a full transaction relay throughput overflow attacks against off-chain protocols. This is a big one. Running to big. It's long. That's what I meant by big. But report disclosed a new transaction relay jamming attack. This is different, affecting Bitcoin.
That's a great clip.
I think you guys are trying to have Becca on the show today.
Jamming attack affecting Bitcoin time-sensitive contracting protocols by exploiting the transaction selection, announcement, and propagation mechanisms of base layer full nodes. Back in 2020, I mean, I could read this whole thing if you guys want me to. Amid numerous technical conversations among Bitcoin protocol developers about how BIP 125 replaced by fee rules could be abused by a Lightning Channel counterparty with a competing interest, aka a pinning attack. See BIP 431's motivation for more. It was thought that a few other components of the Bitcoin transaction relay P2P stack could be also adversarially exploited. In the lack of familiarity with Lightning / contracting protocol security risks, go to read the old post pointed by the footnote, a pinning attack. Antoine's
right. Do you have an opinion on this one?
I mean, in general, this just goes to, I mean, for pinning attacks, it's just, you have this channel state and then like you're just trying to broadcast something out to the network and you kind of get stuck. I think one anchor amp outputs somewhat mitigate this, right? If you have like it's not how Lightning works right now, but just thinking for being able to have easier ways to kind of keep on bumping the funds. RBF is in general, it sounds like it's a malicious construction because what you're doing is you're like rapidly bumping the fee to get like your cheat transaction through. I did a withdrawal this week. I was writing some software and monitoring stuff. Just huge shout out as a random side note to Strike. They're on top of their RBF. So if you do a withdrawal, you use like an instant withdrawal, they push that out almost immediately and they're RBFing it to make sure it gets into the next block. So it's a great way if you're like super deep in the technical weeds for Bitcoin to maximize like your ability to push payments through. And in this Lightning context, you're basically bumping your fees to be able to try and cheat someone. You're trying to do it really quick, like kind of before the gate closes.
I mean, a lot of this stuff is like way above my pay grade. I just will say that been running a Lightning node since like 2019, and I'm amazed that I still haven't had money stolen from me.
Especially because it's like people would want to just attack you specifically. Like, why wouldn't they want to grief you?
I mean, especially since like
I may look at that code base.
I can't believe I haven't been now. I've lost a ton of money running a Lightning node just from like high fees and channel closures, just idiocy. But not actually like getting drained by like a malicious attack.
Until now, I hear that Vandal attack. I may be doing some extracurricular activities after this.
Joke's on you guys. I have the least amount of money on Lightning nodes that I've ever had since 2019. So.
Number go down.
If we end this episode and his node has not been drained, I'm going to be very upset with you, Freaks. Very disappointed.
No, the best was, I mean, if Freaks remember a few years back.
Somebody stole a node.
That's right.
I mean, we were joking about that. That node's dead now. But Tony, like one time Tony was doing adversarial research and he asked me, like, can I attack your node? And I was like, cypherpunks don't ask permission. And then he added like a terabyte to my DB. I deleted that node. That node no longer exists anymore. But he didn't take any money. He just like added to my storage requirements of the node.
That's hilarious. Yeah, Tony had that whole like Lightning Network like attack kit.
Yeah,
right?
The exploit kit.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, all this research is good. We want like trial by fire, iron sharpens iron. Like this stuff needs to get hardened. It's being relied on in the real world in a big way. So, stay on top of it. The links to the disclosures are in the show notes. It's important to us to always front load vulnerability disclosures, but we have a lot more fun stuff in the list going forward. It's not all just highly technical security vulnerabilities.
There's other list shows. One that was on earlier this week. You can listen to if you wanted all the technical stuff. We want our audience awake for this podcast.
If you want to go to sleep, go listen to that one.
Yeah.
The shout out to David Harding, tireless dev in the space. His writing is profound.
Yeah.
So go read that if you want to learn about these attacks. Shout out to everybody else as well. OpenSats renews support for 9 Bitcoin grants, BTC Pay Server, Stratum V2, Raspberry Blitz, LM Bits, Vexel, Blixt, Crux, BitAx, and Labelbase. All very.
I just want to say, Bitcoin is sitting over 100K right now. I'm sure plenty of you have some tax gains, some more substantial than others. Consider before the end of the year donating to OpenSats. You can just go to opensats.org. You can donate Bitcoin or fiat. If you donate fiat, we immediately convert it to Bitcoin. And if you can also donate anonymously, but if you want the tax deduction, you have to check off tax deduction. And then we take some basic tax information and send you a receipt by email. So you can support open source developers and pay Uncle Sam less. It's a win-win.
Think about it, freaks. Think about it.
I think right now we have 186 grants outstanding and a total of 265 grants that we've given out in the lifetime of OpenSats, which I think is a scale that people don't really appreciate how big it's gotten and how quickly, and we're going to keep scaling that up. We're sending out almost $1 million worth of Bitcoin a month right now to developers in 40 plus countries.
Shout out to Gigi.
Yeah, Gigi's a legend among men. He runs the ship faithfully.
Shout out to you, Gigi. All right, on to interesting stories. Did we talk about this, or is this a reaction to the suit? Excuse me. FinCEN appeals.
Yeah, this is just they're appealing the Corporate Transparency Act, but until then, the injunction holds. So you do not have to dox the owners of LLCs to FinCEN for now, but FinCEN is fighting it, and so it's a follow-up to last week's story.
Yeah, the first sentence, defendants have filed an appeal from this court's amended order granting plaintiff's motion for preliminary injunction. Defendants hereby move the court to say that preliminary injunction pending a decision from the Fifth Circuit on defendant's appeal. As explained below, defendants respectfully submit that they have satisfied the requirements for obtaining a stay of the court's injunction pending appeal. So we're good. You're good.
Yep.
Logan, throw it up. Just not lawyers.
Yeah, we're not lawyers. Neither is Rob. I mean, right now it looks like I'm the only lawyer on the stream. Logan, you're missing the arrow.
What if Logan's quick action saves our asses at some point?
They're like playing in court, and then as they're playing the clip, they're like, all of a sudden, "Not lawyers" pops up in the clip.
Yeah, we disclose we're not lawyers. Hopefully, FinCEN loses that case because it is egregious.
Yeah,
this is a great. The geopolitical game theory is really picking up, and it's good to see that somebody in Europe.
Beautiful to watch.
It's great to see somebody in Europe is standing up and saying we're not going to let this part of the world fall. The Czech Republic is standing up and has passed a law that eliminates capital gains tax for Bitcoin that is held over 3 years. This is pretty massive.
Yeah, I mean, I think it'd be best if we just didn't have cap gains tax, because it's really a tax on savings, and it's a double tax. And I mean, I think all taxes are unproductive in general, but if we are going to, I kind of like this concept of basically you're just adding another level of cap gains. So you have like short-term cap gains, long-term cap gains, and then like longest-term cap gains, which is like 3 years. You like if you hit the 1 year point, you pay long-term. You hit 3 year, you pay nothing.
Yeah, no, there should be a longer scale that goes out even further.
Yeah, just keep going.
1,000%, because you want to encourage long-term savings. It's also triple tax if you think about it. Like if you work for a company, the company gets taxed. Then you do payroll, you get taxed. Then you like make an investment, and then you sell, then you get taxed.
And
like
then you go and you pay sales tax and then property tax and all the other.
Yeah.
And then tariffs or whatever. You add that on top.
Bitcoin's a global money. It's a global market competing for talent.
But it is cool seeing, while some countries are trying to add, unrealized cap gains tax and worse taxes on Bitcoin, others are going the opposite direction.
Him too.
And yeah, as Marty said, it's something we theorized for a while, but it's really cool to see the geopolitical game theory play out because
this is what your zaps pay for, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah,
that production value.
competition
Logan,
for
you
the
gonna
world's
take that?
talent in a
gonna
highly
take that?
mobile world.
It was a compliment.
Logan,
I've never
you're
seen a
disrespected.
I've never seen a Bitcoin podcast do on-the-fly graphics. It was a compliment, Logan.
I know, it's pretty impressive.
Yeah. I wouldn't shoe someone. I wouldn't disrespect people that are on the podcast.
We were laughing, and I was
He's shaking
distracted.
his fist over there.
Logan had updated his not lawyers thing to try and include me in it as well,
Very good.
live on air.
That's what I mean. That's hard work.
It is. It's thankless work. Thank you, Logan. I'm going to give you thanks.
Thanks, Logan. Yeah. Shout out to Logan.
It's a season for giving. I'm going to give you thanks. What do you want for Christmas? We'll talk about that off air.
Oh, that reminds me. We did get a zap from Dr. Jeff Ross, 21,000 sats, saying Merry Christmas and that he's thankful for our tireless education and early stage investing efforts. Also, Jeff is Nostr only now, so shout out to Jeff for having conviction.
Shout out to you, Jeff. Are you trying to goad me into go Nostr only? Is that what that was?
No, I'm just shouting out Jeff.
Has Marty zapped today?
Probably not. You can just assume he has.
No, that site's broken. Don't even pull it up, Logan.
Did you see Logan? Logan just put "You're welcome" on the screen. Did you see that?
That's what I mean. He's on top of
I
it.
talked to Weirdo Robot. He fixed the site.
No.
Does it? It says I.
No,
You
let's
can-
test it out.
If it says I zapped, then I did zap. Marty, you
Let's
know you
test it
haven't
out
zapped.
right now.
Just admit it. Have integrity.
Well, no, let's just see if it works. Because I have been zapping.
Has TFTC zapped today?
Go to my account.
Who are you
Refresh.
zapping?
Oh yeah, I did zap.
See, it works.
I just zapped Dave from Podcast Index.
There you go.
Shout out to you, Dave. Thank you for working on podcasting 2.0. All right, I zapped today. It's done. It
Can
isn't
you?
done.
I've had this domain for a year. Can you go to thesuitsarehere.com?
Did you realize Marty just argued that the website didn't work, and he well knew that he had
He
not
had not
zapped
zapped.
today. Like,
The suits
there's
are here.
no way that he thought he
I know.
zapped.
No,
today.
no, of course not. Thesuitsarehere.com.
Oh God.
I've had that domain for over a year at
Wow,
this point.
that's hold on to that domain. Domains
should-
are shitcoins, but that's a
great, right?
valuable one.
It's just,
Why am I the only suit?
Thesuitsarehere.com.
well,
It's a great picture of you, Marty. You should put a blue check on your forehead.
I want a
I'll work
picture
on
of I want a picture of Matt in his suit last week next to me.
I'm wearing a hoodie now, so I'm repenting.
yeah.
Repent. Big news out of Foundry this week.
I'll wear a
DCG.
suit at $1 million too. All the big numbers, I'll wear a suit.
Foundry Digital Currency Group is splitting Foundry's mining business into two entities, the pool and their prop mining service, which will now be called Fortitude, I believe.
Yeah.
What's it called?
Fortitude.
Yeah.
This is interesting. I don't really have an opinion on it, but it's interesting.
I can't.
It makes sense they're two different businesses. Prop mining versus running a mining pool are not.
Yeah.
They have synergies, to be clear, but like they're very different businesses. One's a lot more physical capex, like infrastructure,
Right.
and one is
That's
you're
like a
running the software.
business.
Totally.
Will
And
Foxley,
also, like their vertical mining, like for what's becoming Fortitude, got quite large. Like in the beginning, I felt like it was on the smaller side.
I actually didn't realize they had a prop mining business.
No, yeah, they have a pretty. I think they
Pretty big
stumbled
operation.
into the prop mining business. Was it Foundry? Could be wrong about this, but I think they got into ASIC collateralized lending and
No, because DCG did the parent company,
DCG,
right?
Yeah,
And then Foundry, then they put it because Foundry's a wholly owned.
when the market went upside down, they had to take those ASICs and plug them in.
Put them to work.
Yeah.
Got it. So they fell into cheap collateral.
Yeah,
I mean, it was very expensive collateral, to be honest.
for the
Sure.
borrower.
Price is always going down for the bar, but I mean, like they got a capital call, so I imagine that's like
I mean,
it depends on what ratios, I guess.
it
they
was
were.
cheap, right? But they got wrecked on it. Yeah.
The borrower got absolutely wrecked.
Well,
That was,
the borrower-
that was one of like
the
in retrospect
the
one of the
lender
most
got wrecked.
obvious lessons that's ever been learned in this industry. It's like, oh, maybe we shouldn't have used these highly volatile computers as collateral.
Yeah. Also, they're not good on their own. You need the infrastructure to run them.
Bitcoin's the best collateral in the world, and ASICs are probably one of the worst collaterals in the world.
Because even if you have the ASIC, if you can't actually produce Bitcoin with it because you don't have the energy infrastructure, it's a paperweight.
But I think it's important to realize that both the borrower and the lender got wrecked in that operation, and in the ASIC collateralized loan business. Because all the ASICs were flooding the market while everyone was going belly up, and you couldn't move them. And as Rob said, like, you needed somewhere to plug them in and actually run them.
But if you were able to do that, it was a cheap call option on that infrastructure, right?
Well, it depends what it's all priced at.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on the loan terms, right?
Yeah.
But I think they were overvaluing the collateral, and then they basically didn't have collateral for what they thought they had collateral for. And
and to
loans, it's like if I owe you $1 million and my collateral is like $10,000 worth of ASICs, did the lender get a good deal getting the collateral? Like, no, they just got wrecked.
Yeah. But if they held the ASICs and sold them, like, those ASICs are definitely worth way more than they were.
I don't know.
At the bottom of the bear market.
Derivative.
Yeah.
It's a derivative.
The hash rate's fucking ripping.
It's a derivative of the Bitcoin price and the difficulty.
Hash price
Yeah, the
is
price,
like
hash price is ripping too. It's up like 50% from the floors. JPros are pretty profitable right now, which wasn't the case only a few months ago.
Well, anyway, don't do ASIC collateralized loans unless you're fucking retarded.
Yeah.
Someone on Nostr asked me to stop cursing. It'll probably happen more naturally as my children get older. But if you want to speed up the process, if you get Marty to delete his X account, I'll stop cursing.
That's not going to happen. Stop cursing, Matt.
Yeah. Marty propagating the dystopia that is X is worse for our children than my potty mouth.
Yeah. We're getting comments from Peanut Gallery, not the Peanut Gallery, but
the cheap seats.
People saying that the green vibes on this RHR are incredibly strong. It was the comment I made before we went live.
I think it's important to realize that my suit was also green.
And to the person listening, Peanut Gallery was the wrong term. Excuse me, I'm jet lagged right now.
But was that YouTube chat? I don't see it in the real chat.
It's a separate chat. You'll see it later.
It's an Illuminati chat.
Oh, is it Signal?
Yeah.
I
saw a comment about this in the Zap.stream.
That's like the farthest thing from the Peanut Gallery. Wow.
I know. That's why I had to apologize. But Strike, big announcement yesterday or 2 days ago. No, at this point, they've incorporated USDT deposits and withdrawals.
You noticed that they announced this on a Tuesday after what happened last week.
It was smart by them.
They know better now.
I don't like the stress of them announcing stuff on Thursdays and you not knowing whether or not something's actually been announced or not. They've learned. We've all learned.
That was
this
like
pretty big.
One of the best moments. Sorry.
This is a pretty big announcement and pretty big. And I think if you go and watch Jack's explanation for why they did this, it gets into depth. But we can talk about it here.
I mean, Jack. Look, it's important to Jack to run a very transparent and high integrity business, and as a result, he did record 17 minutes announcing this new feature for non-US users. So you should definitely, I mean, if you care and you're curious, you should go hear it from Jack directly. But this announcement is adding tether deposit and withdrawals in non-US markets. So we're starting with the top 9 non-US markets. These are places like Argentina, Nigeria. And in these places, the number one, one of the most USD rails is Tether, and specifically Tether on Tron. In America, people use, ACH and Chase Bank and Citibank and whatnot. But in these other countries, they use Tether on Tron. They don't use Tether on Liquid. They don't use USDC on Solana. They don't use any of this other shit. They use Tether on Tron. And what we were seeing from users is users were keeping their Binance account because they could only deposit and withdraw on Strike with Bitcoin, and they were sending the Bitcoin to Binance, converting it to Tether on Tron, and then using it, and then doing the reverse. And quite frankly, like, Binance is predatory to users. Like, it's a bad platform for users to be on, and they should be able to delete their Binance account and use Strike for this. So the way we're looking at it is it's strictly adding another USD rail, just like you're adding a new bank account to your Strike account. It's not supporting a shitcoin. I mean, it does, it's not benefiting Tron to add this. And if people's, Tether's available on a million different chains. Like, if Tether ends up getting used on another chain and customers demand it, then that'll be added. But this adds extremely high functionality to users. And when I was in Argentina, and we went to the Cuevas, we went to the black market. First of all, they didn't accept Lightning. They did accept on-chain Bitcoin, but 99% of their transactions was Tether on Tron. Like, that was the majority of transactions that they were processing there. It was people that wanted either US dollars or pesos for Tether on Tron. They had no idea what Liquid was. They had no desire to find out what Liquid was. Very few people use Liquid. And it was all Tether on Tron. So now they can just have Strike, and they can use Bitcoin in a very Bitcoin forward way. And they have access to anything that uses Tether on Tron. They can deposit and withdraw.
I mean, honestly, like, outside of the Bitcoin store value use case, the most predominant, like, different use case out there in the outside Bitcoin is stablecoins, right? And to me, I see it as Jack as an entrepreneur who's built, a multi-country international business, and he's listening to his customers, right? So being able to natively support that, to me, just seems like a straightforward win. Especially, you cut down on interchange fees and, like, extra hops and friction for users if they're having to send Bitcoin to Binance, then Binance back to Strike. Like, why add that complication to users? You want them to use your app. You want to be able to provide that infrastructure. To me,
they want to withdraw dollars, and they just assume that you'd be able to support it.
It's also like that. It's a dollarization of the economies globally, and that's, if everyone's using dollars because their local currency is so bad, you're just helping people, find better ways to be able to transact, and then it's also easier friction to convert that instantly into Bitcoin, right? You want to send in Lightning to other things. I think it's just ultimately letting people use their money and their wealth how they want to use it, and in a lot of these countries, that's just the way commerce is done.
Exactly, and the reason people are using Tron specifically is because it's highly centralized. So as a result, the fees are really low and the transactions are very fast. And the reason Tether doesn't really care about it is because you're not even really trusting Justin Sun and Tron.
No.
Because if something happens with Tron and Tron goes down or whatever, Tether can just be like, these are everyone's balances, because Tether's already centralized itself.
Yeah.
So the trust model doesn't even depend on the underlying chain.
Yeah, I think Jack did a really good job of describing this, and I think before the announcement video came out, this is how I internalized it too. It's like, the US dollar is a shitcoin. Like, Strike in the US connects to my bank account. I can load up a cash balance and buy Bitcoin, spend Bitcoin whenever I want. And it's just objectively true that people in these parts of the world, number one, don't have bank accounts and are leveraging Tether on Tron the way we leverage our bank accounts. And it's just meeting the market where it is and offering that service to ideally funnel more people into Bitcoin, just make it easier, get them off of Binance and all these other exchanges that are throwing shitcoins in their face and not really building an application that caters to the wants and needs of individual Bitcoiners, and just creating an avenue to cannibalize, or not cannibalize, but to eat into Binance's business and get people into a safer spot. So I'm pumped. I think it's going to be massively successful. If you go and watch Jack's announcement video, the charts of Tether on Tron growth are astonishing. Like, whether we like it or not, whether we think it should be the way people get into Bitcoin or not, doesn't matter. It is happening. It's objectively true, and you can pound the table and say, this isn't Bitcoin, it's not Bitcoin only, you're shitcoining now, or you can come to grips with how the market is actually acting and get there. It's not like Strike is going to be offering Ethereum or Solana to their customers anytime soon. And it was interesting too. It was a bit poetic. I was there in the capital of capital at Abu Dhabi Finance Week, and it was one of two talks that I actually walked into that conference to watch, just because I wanted to see what these people were saying, but Jeremy Allaire and Binance's new CEO announced a joint partnership between Circle USD and Binance. So it was interesting to see them doing that while Strike's announcing this Tether functionality within their app. Because
I mean, sorry.
I was just going to say, it seems like, and if you look through the last year with Binance particularly, it's like CZ gets arrested, fined, sent to jail for a little bit, gets out, new CEO in, and shortly thereafter, it's like, oh, Binance and Circle are now tight at the hip. I just find that interesting.
This is also like a lot of the stablecoin demand is not just remittance and international payments. It's become the de facto peg for every random token, right?
Yeah.
Right. So like it used to be back in like when I got into Bitcoin in 2013, every single random coin was pegged to Bitcoin.
Bitcoin was the trading pair.
Right.
It's like you would trade Litecoin versus Bitcoin or Ethereum versus Bitcoin or whatever.
Totally. Yeah. So I think that makes sense if you're trying to get more liquidity for something, because I think what Tether must be 10x plus the size of. I don't pay that
more than
that. Yeah. So like
what people don't realize is the reason Tether was created in the first place was because exchanges couldn't get banking relationships. And Bitfinex, because Bitfinex was larger, they were able to get access to US dollar markets. Mm-hmm. And so they created Tether so all these smaller exchanges could all, without integrating, traditional financial rails, they could all get access to US dollars through Tether. Totally. Now Binance is fucking massive. Binance is kingpin, right? Like, Bitcoin Twitter lives in this like little own bubble or whatever. Like Binance is like 70-80% of Africa, same with South America. Like everyone has Binance. Like I tipped a waitress at a bar in Argentina and like, what did she pull out? She pulled out the Binance app. They either pull out Binance or Trust Wallet, which is Binance's self-custody wallet. And so Binance is quite large and Tether is fucking massive too, right? And there's always been this tension, right? Where like CZ doesn't like asking permission from people. And to have his whole business reliant on Bitfinex and Tether is a shaky position to him. So it makes sense to me that he cozies up to USDC because also USDC, it just has no product market fit and they're going to try and partner with whoever they can fucking partner with. And CZ is trying to hedge himself, but
it's technically not CZ.
Right. CZ is not in charge anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure that's the case. But there's no way that Binance drops support for Tether completely. Like Binance will continue to have Tether deposits and withdrawals because they're not idiots. Because there's a shit ton of users that depend on that and use them for that, and will continue to.
It's also interesting. Stable coins as a business, we were talking earlier about venture, like it's harder as interest rates go up. As interest rates go up, stable coins are more profitable. Right. Peek behind the curtain of how this works is you take the cash and you park it in government treasuries.
With no interest.
Yeah. So you get no interest. Whoever's issuing the stable coin is able to get interest and parking into short-term debt, government, corporate, whatever. And as interest rates go up, that's increasing the yield on it. Right. That's it's a very interesting inversion of how that all works. And so I think there's a lot of, in the larger cryptos, a lot of money goes into like this wave of like random tokens and other things, and also like stable coins. Right. Yeah. Everyone wants to do a stable coin now because everyone wants to be able to kind of jump in on that market.
And just to be clear here, like Tether has third-party risk. I don't think anyone should hold Tether. I've never held or used Tether, period.
I don't think I have either.
Bitcoin fixes this. Bitcoin is money without counterparty risk, money that you can hold yourself. My family's Bitcoin treasury strategy
is that us or them?
It's usually not
that
us.
That being said, there's people around. What?
Are we skipping?
You can't hear us?
You're back.
That being said, there's people around.
This computer's plugged into Ethernet.
Thank you, Carlos. Carlos is letting us know it's them. I think they're gone. It's them. To the gentleman, who is it? What's his name? Greg Donosky. Stablecoin podcast. I mean, you're the one who brought up the subject and asked us to talk about it. So We're talking about stablecoins because Strike implemented them. You seem pretty butthurt. I would urge you, unless you're all in on Bitcoin, never touch a dollar, to rethink your stance. I did pop into PubKey like a ninja last week. There we go.
Dude, the hard line went out again. I don't know. Like,
There
we're on
was-
Wi-Fi.
Matt had some amazing stablecoin alpha, and I think PodConf took down the stream.
Where did you lose me?
In the true Bitcoin capital of the world, we don't have these problems with the internet.
Where did you lose me?
I forget. You kept coming in and out.
Look,
What was the stablecoin alpha?
The point is, I've never used Tether. I never hold Tether. We only hold Bitcoin in the Odell family. Bitcoin fixes this. Bitcoin has no counterparty risk. Tether, obviously, you're trusting Tether. You're trusting Tether's counterparties. But at the end of the day, there are millions of people around the world that are relying, that want Tether and use Tether, and their counterparties expect to get paid in Tether. And for those people, Strike is supporting Tether, and that's why it's not available in the United States, because we don't use it in the United States. But like, I have to pay my mortgage with my Chase account, and that's why Strike supports Chase. And so it's the same thing for global users. Boom, done.
Boom. Beware.
This is not controversial, and it's actually quite massive. Like, I think it's a big deal in the opposite direction. And if you think it's controversial, just like get your fucking priorities in order.
Yeah. No, I'm excited. I mean, I'm curious to see what it does in terms of leading to more business for them. Like how much of a, oh shit, you have this, like I'm downloading Strike and deleting Binance.
Yep.
How big is that effect? We'll find out, I'm sure, in the next 3 to 6 months.
Well, it's crazy because, like, I know the user numbers in Argentina, and there's been no advertisements, and there's been no Tether support, obviously, and very limited banking support. And Strike has a massive amount of users in Argentina. I mean, I think I told the story on air that when I met with the Argentinian ambassador, I was explaining Strike to him, and he was like, "I'm already a Strike user."
Yeah.
Pretty crazy.
No, to your point, Rob, about like the interest rate thing.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting to see too, because I'm looking at the 10-year yield chart here. Obviously, you have the Fed lowering rates. We had inflation come in higher than expected yesterday. And we are, like, a little macro talk here. It does seem like we're heading into this anomalous period, at least in the last 3 decades, where the Treasury yields are not playing ball with the Fed funds rate. And so you have the Fed lowering rates, and despite that, the 10-year yield is up pretty significantly over the last 3 months, up to 4.4.
It's like a free market or something. People are pricing the debt independent.
Yeah. So that stablecoin Treasury play could be very lucrative for quite a while. Interested to see how much Bitcoin Tether buys this quarter when they do their attestation.
That's right. They're also stacked.
Yeah. I mean, that's incredible business. You just...
They made a
these
Bitcoin printer.
Stablecoins buy treasuries. And
It's financial Bitcoin mining. You buy a bunch of dollars, you park it in investment vehicles, you get a yield, you buy Bitcoin with it.
I kind of zoned out, but you said yield and Bitcoin. It just sounds reckless.
Dollar treasury yields.
Still reckless. Just hold Bitcoin.
yeah. You know who's not holding Bitcoin? Microsoft. Shareholders voted this week against the Bitcoin treasury strategy, the assessment of the Bitcoin treasury strategy. They got 0.55% of every shareholder to vote yes for this. It got pretty resoundingly rejected by shareholders.
BlackRock also voted no.
It's also 1 out of 200 shareholders. Like 1 out of 200 shares, which it sounds like 0.55% sounds like a little, but like it's actually a lot. Well, how much does BlackRock hold? Right now, I mean, like 1 out of 200 shares in Microsoft are like, hell yeah, like that's bullish.
It's one more than we would have had last year.
Way more than we would have had.
I mean, you got to think about it. It's like, if you're a ride or die Bitcoiner, why the fuck are you holding Microsoft shares? So we kind of self-select. Like, I would never hold Microsoft. I'd rather hold Bitcoin. Someone did the math. Like, Microsoft right now is worth 32 million Bitcoin. Like, they're literally valued at a price that can't exist. They have more than the supply of Bitcoin. So, I mean, but the surprising thing to me, I mean, not so surprising, because BlackRock is a massive asset management firm, the largest in the world, and manages trillions of dollars and is very conservative about how they allocate capital.
Yep.
But BlackRock is one of the largest holders of Microsoft, and they voted no. So that's just an interesting tidbit.
Microsoft. I wonder if this is also a product of what was disclosed originally when Microsoft put it on the ballot, which was like, hey, we've run the assessment. And I was having a conversation with some American coiners over in Abu Dhabi throughout the week, and I think at the very least...
coiners?
Abu Dhabi.
Yeah, why do you are you intentionally calling it Abu Dhabi?
It's amazing.
No,
I didn't want to correct.
Abu Dhabi.
Abu
It's
Dhabi.
the second time he said it.
It's like the 7th time he said it. He keeps saying Abu Dhabi, and I was like, oh, that's so
That's
good.
so offensive.
I am,
I was gonna-
gentlemen, I am out of it. I had a 26-hour travel day. I am
I think he keeps
exhausted.
adding an hour every time. First it was 22, now it's 24. Like, he
It's
just
been
keeps
32 hours of travel.
Excuse me, Abu Dhabi.
So you're talking to American coiners, you said?
Yeah,
American
I go
coiners over there.
to talk to Americans.
American coiners, yeah.
Because Microsoft said we already have assessed it, and I think shareholders shareholders now have the ability to say, okay, if you're going to reject it, we want to see the language around your assessment. Like, prove to us that you actually did the assessment in the past, and what was the assessment, who led it, what were the factors that you looked into, what were the reasons that you made the decision not to allocate. And so now we're getting into this weird part of Bitcoin's existence in public equity markets where shareholders are going to be like, all right, what were the factors behind the decision? And basically
amazing.
opening
You
the
have-
door to call out CFOs like you're an idiot. Which is
This is like the I told you so now moment, though.
Yeah.
You like literally now that you do a vote, now like 5 years we can go back and be like, oh, like look how much more your treasury would have been worth if you put 1%, 10% into this, right?
Well, it's, I mean, if you look at, so a couple things. First of all, I'm pretty sure it wasn't put money into Bitcoin. It was assess if we should put money into Bitcoin. And they even voted no on that. The second piece is we have Jeff Ross in the comments saying that his fund actually was part of the 0.55% that voted yes on the shareholder
Thank you,
vote.
Jeff.
Thank you, Jeff.
And then the third piece is when you look at individuals, almost every, if you remember when we first got into Bitcoin, like every Bitcoin podcast, like the beginning days of Marty's podcast, he would start every podcast with, tell me your Bitcoin story. And then everyone stopped doing it because it got really boring just asking everyone what their Bitcoin story was. But most people's Bitcoin story in the beginning is like multiple touch points, right? It's like a friend told them, they dismissed it, and then they saw it in a newspaper, they dismissed it. And then like the second or third touch point is when they actually started getting into Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And it'll be the same thing with corporate boards. It'll be the same thing with, government treasuries and every different type of organization. It's going to take multiple touch points. And yeah, Rob's right. We're witnessing the first touch point.
Yeah.
And also, I'm short Microsoft at 32 million Bitcoin valuation.
Sam, they have $18 billion in cash on their balance sheet.
That's
Which is
insane.
insane.
It's like,
What is
Just cash.
put-
Wow.
a little over, let's say 18 divided by
Just get a humble
you know,
1,000 points.
Yeah.
1
Just
divided
get like
by 18 is what?
coins.
7.
they should just set up an auto DCA. Just do $10 a week.
They can set up a strike account
Yeah.
and do $10 a week.
Oh yeah, that was a strike feature that went underreported. Is you can do multiple DCAs now.
So you can do one every minute and one every hour.
Yeah, you can have different, or I mean, more realistically, like you could have like your daily and then your larger weekly buy, right? I mean, it's kind of cool to have the customization.
Totally.
I mean, there was also a feature added to Strike where you could plan to buy at a higher price, like not a limit order. They call it a target order.
Mhm.
And then a bunch of people used it because they wanted to buy exactly at $100,000.
Right.
Like when that feature was getting brainstormed, I was like, no one's going to use this thing. Like who's
Everyone's
going to
using
want to plan to buy at a higher price?
Doesn't River do that too?
Maybe, but
I think so.
it's ridiculous. People want it, so you should just give users the options.
I used it on River.
Yeah, see?
$100K for 69,420 sats.
But see, like you literally set that up probably at like $95,000. You could have just bought Bitcoin at $95,000, but instead you set a target price for more expensive.
It's for the memes. It's for the memes.
No one's going to care. No one's going to care at $1 million per Bitcoin that you did that.
If Microsoft were to take 5.5% of their $18 billion in cash, $1 billion, and buy Bitcoin, they can get 10,000 coins.
How many bits would they get?
Quite a bit.
10,000 coins times
A bit of
million.
bits. Quite a bit of bits. You just multiply that times 100, right? Or 1,000.
Let's
10 million bits. 10
let him
million
figure
bits.
it out.
That's completely wrong.
No, it's
No, it's not.
$1 billion only buys you 10 million bits. That's 10
That's
Bitcoin.
10 Bitcoin.
There's 1 million bits in a Bitcoin.
Logan,
There's
we need a jet lag disclaimer for this
A
one.
billion bits
Okay.
and 1,000 Bitcoins, 10 billion bits.
Thank you, Rob.
You're welcome.
On the same vein, in the same vein, Amazon shareholders are pressuring the corporation to consider a Bitcoin strategy as well.
Everyone's getting their first touch.
Love this. Love to see it.
So this is
They can buy 10 million
the same activist think tank, the National Center for Public Policy Research, has officially got this on the docket for Amazon.
Wait. So is this the same think tank?
Yeah, they're going
like an
around and doing it.
For Bitcoin votes.
It's kind of wonderful.
You know, there's just a couple of Bitcoiners that have way too much free time. They're like,
And this
yeah, let's
is
just
a
do
troll.
this. Yeah, it's just
Yeah.
totally, it's amazing. I love it.
And Amazon's even more. They have 88 billion in cash in bonds.
And Apple has the most, right?
Yes.
They have
Like
hundreds
over.
of billions.
Yeah.
Imagine holding that much cash. Crazy.
Just buy
It is
Bitcoin.
crazy. Same thing. Shareholders request that the board conduct an assessment to determine if adding Bitcoin to the company's treasury is in the best long-term interest of shareholders.
If I was Bezos, I would literally just buy one more Bitcoin than MicroStrategy has. Like that would just be hilarious.
Well, they're just going to keep on going up then. They're going to,
Fine. Okay. Whatever.
you're willing to let that happen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd be cool with it. Or Tim Apple, you know, just buy one more before he gets ahead of you.
I mean, the dominoes are going to start falling. One of them's going to do it. I guess prediction 2025 is one of the Mag 7. I guess, is Tesla in the Mag 7?
Have
They
you
already
seen
have
the
some.
that MicroStrategy chart is fucking ridiculous.
It's vertical. Straight vertical these days.
Yeah, can you pull up a signal image or no, Logan?
Yeah.
Here, I just sent it to you. Like that's insane. It just goes straight up.
That's like
There's a Bitcoin held by MicroStrategy.
it's a literal S curve.
Speaking of this, there's a software update. The block clock firmware just released, so it links to bitcointreasuries.net, so you can actually look at on MSTR, Metaplanet, and all the publicly traded Bitcoin companies on your block clock.
Disclosure: NVK also owns BitcoinTreasuries.net.
Disclosure, investor.
Disclosure: 1031 is the only external investor in CoinKite, which owns BitcoinTreasuries.net.
So
And
this
the block
is
clock.
block clock firmware version 1.2.3.
Am I the only person that just only keeps it on the price?
Yeah,
Like,
I love
I go.
it.
I do block height price. I like to keep myself humble. That one number is always going up. No
So
matter what.
I'm strictly in it for the tech. OpenSats funds the tech, and our treasury is entirely in Bitcoin. So by tracking the price, I'm tracking the tech progress.
Wow, how much time did you put into
Yeah.
that strategy?
That excuse?
Yeah, that excuse. Yeah.
It was. I
love-
thought about it sleeping in bed one night.
Yeah.
I was like, I got it.
I love this stat. Average fee rate per block over the last 2 weeks,
Did that-
2016 blocks.
Just get into the Zen. Mempools will never clear again.
But OneSat per VByte will.
I mean, it hasn't really.
I've met Catan now, and I had a whole conversation with him about the OneSat per VByte.
Oh, you got to meet him before me. I still have never met him.
Yeah.
I was supposed to meet him, and then COVID happened.
Mempools will clear in 2025. It's gonna
And
happen.
now we're in like tete-a-tete. Like I refuse to fly to Australia. He refuses to fly to America.
I was there for cheat code. It's a great time.
Yeah.
Do you guys talk about? Oh, you guys did. You announced that Danny started what Bitcoin
we
did again.
broke the news. We broke
Yeah.
the news on Rabbit Hole Recap. He just had an episode
The Samurai
with
guy,
the
Zach
Samurai
Shapiro.
Legal Defense.
Zach
Yeah.
Shapiro, great. The P2P Defense Fund.
Worth a listen. Make sure you skip through the mid rolls, Danny. Fucking hate mid rolls. P2Prights.org if you want to donate, and you can check the box that make sure it only goes to Samurai Wallet. But I will just say that, and 99% of the funds being donated right now, regardless of what you check, is going to the Samurai Wallet case.
Be aware. It's important that we have privacy and data security in this world, and nothing makes this clearer than what happened this week to Bitcoin ATM operator Byte Federal, which reports a data breach affecting 58,000 users. So the US-based Bitcoin ATM operator has reported a data breach that may have compromised the personal information of 58,000 clients. Customer personal information that was subject to the attempt at unauthorized access includes name, birth date, address, phone number, email address, government-issued ID, social security number, transaction activity, and photographs of the user. So you just got completely pwned.
So ATM, I've been using ATM in Bitcoin in a really long time.
KYC does not stop criminals. They use stolen or fake or bought credentials, and it just puts innocent people at risk. And this is just another example of that.
Yeah, not great for anybody involved. Yeah, it makes you feel like people are going to go after Byte Federal for this, and maybe there were some lax security practices on their back end in terms of creating a DevOps environment that actually, or a back end environment that actually secured this data properly. But the government is the one forcing them to collect all this data. Many companies in this space don't want to. They're forced to if they want to actually be able to operate. And so we've been saying it for years. We'll beat the dead horse. We'll continue to beat it. The conversation needs to be had. Why are we making all of these companies collect this data when time after time again it has been proven without a shadow of a doubt that most of them cannot properly secure it? It's completely insane.
Yeah, 100% cosign. I would say that Byte Federal does deserve some of the blame, though. They're forced to do it.
Yeah, and
But-
obviously didn't do it securely.
Yeah. And you do have to operate under the assumption that all this shit will leak eventually, but you basically have to treat it with the value as if like you were custodying people's Bitcoin. Like that's the level of
It's all
value you should be
information.
treating it as.
Because securing Bitcoin ultimately is securing information,
Yeah.
right? You're securing a big number that ties to a private key
Yeah.
somewhere. Like it's a very difficult, time-consuming thing to do it right.
But if you don't do it right, all your users get rugged. So
Yeah.
do it right. Try your best.
Beware, freaks. Now we're on to the Human Rights Foundation story of the week, coming from Vietnam, where social media platforms censor anti-state content. Over the past year, Facebook, Google, and TikTok complied with more than 90% of the Communist Party of Vietnam's request to censor over 15,000 pieces of quote-unquote anti-state content. This censorship aligns with Decree 147, a law passed by the CPV to tighten control over social networks and the internet. Amnesty International condemned these practices as arbitrary censorship. Adding to the repression, Decree 147 requires organizations to share data with authorities without consent in situations deemed critical to quote-unquote national security. Such tactics could easily compromise activists and civil society organizations in these environments. Decentralized protocols like Nostr, which allow communication and expression beyond the reach of the state, can play a vital role in upholding citizens' right to free expression. To hear more stories like this, make sure that you are subscribed to the Human Rights Foundation newsletter, the Financial Freedom Report, and you can do that at financialfreedomreport.org. Not great, Vietnam. Not surprising, though. Communist Party doesn't want people talking bad about communism. There's a lot of bad things to say about communism. doesn't work out too well for most people, as we've learned throughout history.
It works pretty well if you're at the top.
But that's the other thing about communism too. When you're taking a society from something like a republic, a distributed republic like we have here in the United States, and there's many people within the borders of this country that would like to see us move to an overtly socialist or communist regime, and they like to think that they're going to be successful. We're going to become socialist or communist, and that they're going to have a good life. But actually, what happens is the people in power turn around and shoot you. So
yeah, they often view themselves as part of like the party, the upper class, who's going to fix everything. Right? They don't realize that the moment you drop the social and societal guardrails, that everyone just put up against the wall. It becomes a might makes right system. It just naturally extends to that.
But sir, I helped you get here. I helped you win. I campaigned. Nah, thanks for the help. Now turn around.
First one's to the wall. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, that took a dark path. People should... Nostr doesn't fix that aspect, but Nostr fixes the social media aspect. And defends free speech using math and using open protocols. I would just say one piece here. That write-up didn't include X. So there's a bunch of people that are like reading between the lines. They're like, oh, like X, wasn't doing the censorship. The only reason X isn't included in there is because X's transparency report is less specific than TikTok, Facebook, and whoever the other one was mentioned.
Is that even post-Elon acquisition?
Yeah, post-Elon, he lists Turkey, Japan, South Korea, EU, and all others. So in total, they got 72,000 removal requests, and they complied with 70,000 of them. 70% of them.
70%.
51,000 of them. So yeah.
X not as transparent. Looking forward to the Kraken and Coinbase transparency reports next year.
I always look, as much as I hate Coinbase, I do appreciate how verbose their transparency reports are.
It'll be interesting to see. Obviously, this is Biden
Kraken
administration.
Kraken does a great job.
It'll be interesting to see. Actually, the most interesting ones will be like 2026, 27, 28. Like, does the incoming administration actually fix things and make it so that the government isn't trying to spy on its citizens?
I think Palantir can just automate the censorship to make it much easier and more efficient.
On to the software update section of the show. BTC Pay Server version 2.0.
Wait. Shout outs. Abu Dabu.
Abu Dabu. Shout out to Abu Dabu. Actually, fudge. Oscar, the latest Fountain update is making it very hard for me to sign in, so I have to go in the browser here.
Bitcoin in space too. Marty just hates poor people. I don't know what that's about. Marty loves poor people.
Why do I hate poor people?
I don't know.
While you're pulling that up, my buddy, our mutual buddy, Sam Wooters from River, said that there's Microsoft data in the live chat, and I asked him the real chat or the Nostr chat.
Yeah, where's the
Nostr chat or the YouTube chat?
Probably YouTube chat.
It's definitely YouTube. I haven't even opened up the YouTube chat yet. What's been going on in there, Logan?
I can kind of see the YouTube chat. See, that's the YouTube chat over there, but we can't actually read it.
Oh yeah, it's way too far away.
Sam said we actually ran the retroactive math at River on how much Microsoft would have made in the past 4 years if they put 1%, 3%, or 10% into Bitcoin. It was plus 25 billion, plus 52 billion, and plus 149 billion dollars in shareholder value.
So how much would they have made? Can you repeat that?
A butt ton. 25.
Yeah, a lot of billions.
If they allocated 1%, they would have increased the shareholder value. Everything else held equal by 25 billion. They did 3%. 4 years ago. 4 years ago. You're not listening. I know.
I'm not.
You got to pay attention.
I asked for a clarification, and you didn't give me the proper clarification. Okay, 1% 4 years ago, they'd be up $25 billion.
Just a humble.
3% 52. 10% 149 billion.
Wow.
Microsoft.
Okay. Stay humble,
Market cap is 3.32 trillion. So if they did 10%, they'd be at above 3.5 trillion right now.
Pringle stacks. Marty loves everyone! Exclamation point.
It's true. Thank you, Sil. Thank you for the clarification for the freaks out there who think I hate poor people. I love all people.
I mean, look, I was looking at those OnlyFans top charts, like $11 million a month. The top ones making, we're all poor.
Are you surprised?
$11 million a month.
If you're a freak out there listening to this and you
Uh-oh.
have an OnlyFans account and you're sending money to these people, repent. Go to church. Repent.
I mean, I don't know who's worse. Is the OnlyFans girls or the blue checks worse? Like, I don't really know because
I think it's very obvious.
the blue
If you don't know, I have some questions. If you don't know, I have some.
the blue. I mean, look, I don't think freaks should be spending their sats on OnlyFans, but OnlyFans does not have any ads. They do not sell to surveillance capitalism. They're not spying on their users. They're just taking subscription fees directly from the user. It's way closer to value for value than what the blue checks are doing, which is they're encouraging their audience to be as addicted as possible, to sell their data to advertisers and get their small cut. That is way less than the OnlyFans.
Would you rather have your children grow up to be an OnlyFans model or a blue check?
I would ideally neither. I think they're quite close together.
No. There is an either or.
The only difference between Marty and an OnlyFans girl is Marty sells himself for way less.
Your kids
sells his audience for way less.
Your kids grow up to be blue checks because they want to be like Uncle Marty when they grow up, right? They're going to look at him as a role model and look what your role models for your family are doing to your kids.
And Marty's, it's a tough call there.
Yeah. Oh, man. Fountain is not loading for me in the browser. You may have to do Boost this week. Do you have it?
I wasn't able to pull it up on my phone.
My question is, who is the think tank that is encouraging the OnlyFans girls to adopt a Bitcoin treasury strategy? They got to be out there, right? Somewhere.
Something is wrong with Fountain. We may not be able to get these Boost in this week, freaks.
No, I got you. I didn't.
Did you turn it off and turn it back on? While you're pulling that up, Sam says he has a comment higher up.
No.
If anyone wants shout outs, just DM me on Twitter. I'll just start taking over the podcast.
Tell Sam rhr.tv/stream. He's got to join the real chat. I'm loading our Boost right now.
Sam, I'm not seeing that alpha. Further in the chat. That guy with the hat is really handsome. Thank you, Sam. I am. You didn't specify.
We're all wearing hats.
We're all wearing hats. I went to bring it in today. I bought the you saw X added a merch store?
No.
Yeah. And it's a black hat that has X on it. I was going to bring it in and wear it.
Did you bought one?
Of course.
Wow.
Specifically to troll you.
Fair enough.
You whore.
You're talking about vandalism attacks. Would you spend money to hurt someone else? Yes, I bought X merch just to hurt Matt.
Well, Matt's trying to get the Boost up. We had you on Bitcoin Alpha last week, but for Rabbit Hole Recap listeners who didn't catch that, what's the latest on AnchorWatch, Rob?
Latest on AnchorWatch. While you're pulling up,
it's not loading.
It's not loading. Wow. So the latest on AnchorWatch is we are now Lloyd's of London cover holders. We did that press release end of last month, which means that we have the binding authority to actually issue insurance policies for Bitcoin held with us at Trident Vault, which is leveraging Miniscript to do joint custody. So for the length of the policy, neither us nor you were able to unilaterally move the funds. Using a Bitcoin native smart contract that works today, no forks required. And we have insurance limits starting at $250,000, just a humble 2.5 Bitcoin, all the way up to $100 million. So
it's crazy that 2.5 Bitcoin's 250.
Isn't it wild, right? Because when we first started doing this whole thing, it was 30,000 Bitcoin. We're like 10 Bitcoin. And now the Bitcoin price keeps ripping. So it's 2.5 Bitcoin. And you actually get an insured contract covering loss of your ability to spend funds from the UTXOs permanently, as well as things like wrench tax, right? All being kind of covered and rolled up in there. So anyone in the United States, either an individual or a company, drop me an email at rob@anchorwatch.com and go to anchorwatch.com and put your name on the email list. We'll get out, add you to the email list, and you can just kind of hit us up and we'll get you onboarded. It's excited to be going. It's been a long time in the making. It's super boring in the background, just slowly grinding out. I mean, the tech's fun, but actually grinding out the mechanics. And this is a huge shout out to my co-founder, Becca, who you were in Abu Dabu, as you would say, Marty, with this past week. But, she's been doing a lot of great work teeing up all of the infrastructure and kind of the deal making around executing this. Lloyd's of London is it's the kind of the best standard in the world when it comes to insurance. We put a lot of effort into kind of structuring and getting going. It's dollar denominated policies, just to start, because Lloyd's of London today does not have a huge Bitcoin balance sheet. So we do dollar denominated premiums and your payouts in the event there's a claim payout. Definitely don't hesitate. Drop me an email at rob@anchorwatch.com if you want to learn more, and we'll get you in the system.
Yeah, I can't get these boosts up. I even tried Podverse. I tried Podverse.fm and I couldn't find it either.
Really? I only use Fountain app now for the Bugle podcast. They're so pure. The only way you can get the Bitcoin Bugle podcast is on Fountain.
I think they're just probably couldn't figure out how to broadcast their RSS feed.
You think so?
Yeah, it's probably
they managed to figure it out and put a Lightning invoice in there.
Technical failures. Does podcast index doesn't show it, right? I thought we're supposed to have an open system here. Well, we'll read your boost next week, freaks.
We'll read them next week. On to software updates. BTC Pay Server version 2.0.4 has been released. Minor release, some new improvements. Norwegian krona pair has been added. QR code verification via email has been added. Some greenfield support for store users who are using the API. Go check it out. Zeus Wallet version 0.9.3 has been released with improved channels UI and more. I actually used this last night, so I can confirm that it is improved. Great UX. Shout out to the Zeus team. Core Lightning version 24.11 has been released with Bolt 12 by default, XPay, Gossip enhancements, and more. Running Core Lightning, probably want to upgrade. If you haven't upgraded in a few months, you definitely want to upgrade based off of the disclosure that we read earlier in the show. Label Base, which was mentioned earlier, as well as an OpenSats grant recipient, released version 2.2.3 of their software, which comes with UI improvements and testnet support. Really interesting. Bitcoin Keeper version 1.3.0 has been released. Rob, you'll like to hear this, with mini-script support, inheritance keys, and remote sharing.
Everyone gets mini-script at the price they deserve.
Also, a
lot of mini-script talk in Abu Dhabi.
Well,
was it really?
Yeah.
Is it just because you were hanging out with Becca all the time?
Well, Ben was there too.
Ben Kaufman.
Yeah, so that's what I was going to say. So the freaks have been around for a while.
They know.
Like the big story of Bitcoin Keeper is that it's the reawakening of Bitcoin legend Ben Kaufman, who originally was one of the main developers behind Spectre Wallet, and then did a brief stint in shitcoinery where he made bank, and now he's back to Bitcoin.
It's also for people who don't realize, like, because Craig Raw is a powerhouse with Sparrow Wallet. Before Sparrow Wallet, Spectre was the way you did multisig. So exactly. Like
Spectre was first.
Ben's an absolute legend, and it's funny too because the Spectre DIY was the first wallet to enable miniscript, so it was all sitting there open source anyway in Python. So Ben just lifted and ran with it. Like it's great. So the inheritance protocol is like a perfect, like it's a very laid up use case. Things that we have elaborate services and kind of constructions and arrangements today can all be handled on chain. And I think Bitcoin Keeper's also the first one for a mobile app, because we have Wizard Sardine, which is a desktop app. Bitcoin Keeper's
Sardine,
yeah, the Wizard Sardine guys. Mm-hmm. They were also in Abu Dhabi. There's a good mini-script founder photo with Becca, Ben, and Kevin from Wizard Sardine all hanging out. That's why it was a good conference. Yeah, it's good. It was only posted on X. How did you see it?
Someone sent it to me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, no. That's the other thing. I wasn't going to bring it up, but Rob, thank you for mentioning that. We got a bit of a hypocrite sitting right next to you because he likes to posture like this Nostr only, never X.
Be aware.
Marty, be the change you want to see in the world.
I agree. I'm going to tell you. I kid. Next up, Ashley.
49,000 sats, largest zap so far. Ride or die freaks. Read the seed signer independent custody guide. Happy holidays and starve the state. I don't know who sent it though, because
I don't even know the independent custody guide. What is that?
I have no idea what that is either. But yeah, thank you for your support.
Love
Appreciate
that.
it. I still can't get the boostergrams up.
Neither can I. So we'll go on. Software updates. Ashigaru version 1.1.
That was Sawzall who sent it. Sorry.
Version 1. Ashigaru version 1.1.0 has been released with removed DNS dependencies and UI improvements. DNS dependencies have proven to be a bit of a hang up for some projects in the space. If you all recall earlier this summer, the Fedimint protocol and some of the mints that were being spun up on there had some DNS issues. So eliminating that particular dependency is always a good thing. SimpleX Chat version 6.2.0 has been released. It adds servers operated by Flux to improve metadata privacy. Anything to add here, Matt? Been playing around with this.
I mean, this is awesome. So SimpleX is, trying to be an incredibly user-friendly encrypted chat. And right now, one of the coolest parts about SimpleX over something like Signal is that with SimpleX, you can run your own servers. With Signal, the apps are open source, but you have to use Signal's server. So, which from a trust perspective is fine because everything is done client side. But the main issue with that is that you have, if the server goes down, then you just actually can't send messages. So with SimpleX, you can run your own servers. In practice, what is actually happening is everyone just uses SimpleX's servers because very few people actually want to run their own servers, and it adds friction. So they've added Flux, which appears to be like a professional infrastructure provider that like runs different open source software packages. So they added Flux so you can check on Flux like in the beginning setup, or if you already have it and you install the update, it'll ask you if you want to add Flux. And in this case, what they're using it as, they're actually using it kind of like similar to Apple Private Relay, where between every connection is both the SimpleX server and the Flux server.
Okay.
So it helps in terms of metadata protection, so like IP address, stuff like that, where neither party can see everything that's happening. They would both have to collaborate together to see basically like your transaction graph, like not your transaction graph, like your message graph, like who is sending messages to who, not what the contents are, because the contents are encrypted anyway. So it makes the app work better with very little friction, and it's a good update. And SimpleX has been strongly improving. The other big thing that SimpleX does that Signal doesn't do is it doesn't require a phone number to sign up.
They crank out updates too. Like they're shipping a lot.
Yeah,
SimpleX,
he's shipping really. He's just constantly shipping. I will say that I use both Signal and SimpleX, but SimpleX still has some like general reliability problems, notifications. Group chats are a little bit more iffy than Signal. Calls are worse, but it's getting there. It's really good. It's good to see that project constantly iterate and improve.
Shout out to SimpleX. Zap.store version 0.1.7 has been released. It enables app downloads in the background, adds full screen images for apps, displays non-updatable apps due to certificate mismatch issues, and more.
I'm going to have Fran, the lead dev of Zap Store, on Citadel Dispatch on Tuesday the 17th at 2100 UTC. So you can join us live in the Zap stream, or you can listen on the podcast feed afterwards by searching Citadel Dispatch in your favorite podcasting app.
Yeah. And last but not least, out of this list, last minute, Logan, Unchained announced today that they've upgraded their connections product, making it more flexible and private. So for those of you who are unaware, Unchained Vault, they've released this connections product, which allows you to invite other Unchained users, friends, family members, lawyers, accountants, whatever it may be, to help you manage a vault, whether that be with keys. And they've added features that make it so you can be more flexible with what you enable your connections to do and more private, giving you more granular control over the information about a particular vault that you share.
Yeah, this is really important. So like if you're using Unchained in like an organization setting, you can imagine a lot of situations where you need something like this, where you need like your accountant or bookkeeper to be able to see all the transactions but not be able to spend any money. Things like that, it becomes very helpful, and you want it to be as granular as possible so you can choose what they see and what they have access to.
Shout out to everybody pushing it forward. That was a software update. Long software update section this week.
Nothing happens in Bitcoin.
Nothing ever happens in Bitcoin. Now we get to the important stuff, the stuff I've been waiting to talk about. I know you didn't put it on the list because you don't want to talk about it. What's going on with these Jersey drones?
Oh, that's wild, right? They're like the size of SUVs, aren't they?
I think it's a psyop. Don't fall for the drones. I just brought it up.
So I have two observations.
Why didn't you bring it up then?
So I have two observations. One, I think it's our own tech we're testing. And like we're like scrambling to figure out our own ability to surveil things. So why wouldn't you just surveil the US first? And of course, you're going to do it in New Jersey, a state where it's basically illegal to own a gun. Because if you try doing that in Texas, they're shooting down all the drones.
Tennessee.
Yeah, in Tennessee too, we would shoot down the guns, right? Like, we would shoot it like it'd be. They wouldn't be able to do it. So they go to a place where they really can't do anything, and you do it like right on the water, so you can shoot right off the water, and no one's allowed to own guns, and like it seems like the perfect place for the U.S. to do its own kind of ops.
We also have a lot of density. Like there's like the Northeast is the most dense.
Yeah,
I mean New Jersey's the Nigeria of the United States. It's the most densely populated state.
And they're saying like they're seeing it over like where Trump's like in Bedminster, like where he has like his golf course and stuff, and like that'd be a perfect thing like to actually start testing this stuff. Like you would do it for your own domestic like surveillance and your own domestic like defense stuff. Like why wouldn't you? I don't buy that it's Iran or anything like that.
No.
What about aliens?
Aliens, I think is that's definitely like the second best outcome. The best outcome it's just us doing it to ourselves because then it's not a foreign power. Then aliens, and then it's like a foreign state.
What about the theory that there's like 24s going on right now, and there's
a Jack Bauer character out there.
Well, yeah, and there's like a nuke. There's like
and they're scrambling looking for
it, and it's just like they're running around New Jersey right now.
Oh, that would be.
Did you see that theory?
No, I didn't see that. Random.
Anyway, Marty brought up the psyop.
Well, I mean, another one I think was interesting. They're talking about with that shooter from the United Healthcare CEO.
Yeah, Luigi
Mangione. I think the whole story about the person at McDonald's IDing him is bullshit. Wow. I think it's McDonald's closed circuit televisions that popped him on facial recognition, and they're doing parallel construction to be like, oh, it's like a good Samaritan just recognized a guy sitting in the corner eating a hash brown, but they don't want people to know about it. So they're doing that's my.
What about the fact that he had like a gun and everything? Like he had literally everything, like the manifesto, the gun, the silencer.
If he's just mentally unstable, that's plausible. Like if he's actually just like had a complete mental breakdown.
Fair enough.
But like, I think it's weird that you would be so smooth and sophisticated in executing it, and then they find you because you pull down your mask to flirt with a girl. And then, like, it's just like I'm assuming mentally unstable, but I thought that was really interesting because everyone's like, "Oh, someone ID'd him at McDonald's." No one.
Meanwhile, we know absolutely nothing about like either of the Trump guys, like the first shooter, and then that second guy who was like supposedly on the golf course or whatever. Like, completely memory hold.
Yeah, and that second shooter, Secret Service person was 5 feet away, and they missed the shots trying to shoot the guy 5 feet away.
Marty, what are your thoughts here?
Yeah, it all stinks. It all stinks.
I brought my own homework. I know it's going to RHR. I was like, I need to get some good stuff for Uncle Marty.
It all stinks. Yeah, the fact. Apparently, I was talking to somebody last night. Apparently, he like ditched his jacket before he got on the bike in New York, and he was wearing the same jacket in PA. That was like.
I don't know if that. I mean, that's the other thing. It's like there's so much fake shit out there. Like, did he actually do that?
I think
there was the fake manifesto out there that was saying like his mom couldn't get surgery or whatever, but it turned out to be complete.
Fake. That was just engagement.
All fake news.
Yeah.
What about the booms? Did you see the booms thing?
No, what's that?
Like at
the Costco family boom.
Like, people are just like waking up to like large sounds.
The Rizzlers running around and terrorizing people.
I didn't even hear about the booms.
There's everything's the fact that everything is a psyop itself, but you know we're living in a post-truth world. The only thing you know is true is Bitcoin.
Yeah. Yeah. How do you guys get over jet lag? I'm not well for traveling.
You sleep. You
hydrate.
Around the world.
Make sure you hydrate. You retain a lot of water traveling, like being up in the sky for 20, 75 hours, whatever long you've been up in the sky for. You just gotta fucking sleep, man. My advice, I mean, when did you land? Yesterday or today?
Last night, like 10 p.m.
My advice would be hydrate, get a lot of steps in, get a lot of time in front of the sun. Shout out to Stephen Lubka, sun influencer. Just get in the sun and start resetting your circadian rhythm. You want to basically just stare at the sun until you can't see anything anymore, and then you're good to go.
Okay. That actually reminds me.
Luckily for us, it's raining in Austin today. So
Did you see the Jack Nostr post where he was like, every day, above all else, study nature, wake only when rested, eat only when hungry, sleep only when tired?
Yeah, I did see
And like, as a parent, like you can't help but just laugh.
Those are single, like those are the kids are out of the house, or you don't
Wake
have kids
when
yet?
rested is like something I don't even know what that means. Like
Yeah,
that
it's
just
not a
doesn't
thing.
exist.
that. Oh,
Sleep
I'm
when
rested.
tired? Yeah. No.
That's not an option.
Yeah, Jack. Landed at 10, in bed around 11. Fell asleep pretty quickly. Woke up to my boys who'd missed me, been away for a week, ready to open up their advent calendars at 6:45 a.m. So
Nice.
I woke up to an advent calendar being shoved in my
I'm
face.
not rested.
I'm listening to Jack Dorsey. I can't wake yet. I'm not rested.
I'm sorry, sons. I'm following the Jack protocol today. Get back
That
to bed.
reminds me, by the way, African Bitcoin conference happened this week too.
It looked
huge
dope.
box out there.
Yep.
I was not there. I'm trying to reduce my travel as much as possible. Too much work travel.
Africa's a hike too.
But all the live streams are available on nobullshitbitcoin.com.
Oh, nice.
NoBSBitcoin.com.
Yeah. I mean, I had a bit of FOMO watching things coming out of there. It seemed like African Bitcoin Conference was much more technically focused and grassroots focused, while Bitcoin Mania was more strategic, nation state level focus, which each in their own rights have their merits. But I would recommend, I watched it live and actually went back and watched it on YouTube yesterday because I thought it was really good. The industry resident UFO expert Matt Pines gave a really good presentation on Bitcoin's effect on the geopolitical landscape and the game theory. And it was
Did you do that in Africa or in Abu Dhabi?
In Abu Dhabi. Abu Dhabi.
Yeah, Rod of Bitcoin Park went to Africa.
Yeah.
It's happening, gentlemen. It's happening. I was just got lunch with a longtime coiner friend earlier today, and it's happening much faster than I expected. Which has its pros and its cons, but it's happening.
Yes. We're gonna win.
I talked to somebody over there, like on the investor side too. Somebody like just walked up to at that ADFW Abu Dhabi Finance Week conference. Had to make sure I didn't miss it out. No, there's FOMO. It was the first time I've met an investment professional. He didn't seem scared, but was like, "Yeah, I'm being forced to explore like Bitcoin and the industry as an investable asset because my clients are literally begging me to. They're saying, if you don't do this, I got to figure something else out." So
there you go.
It feels like it's happening. Freaks, thank you for putting up with my jet lag today. And
Marty, shout out to Marty's jet lag.
Any Emiratis living in Abu Dhabi, please forgive me for mispronouncing your state.
And please go to 1031.vc/funds. We would love to have you. 4 of the 5 partners do not mispronounce Abu Dhabi.
That's fine, because you have Abu Dhabi and then you have Dubai. I think I just combined the two, you know.
Abu Dubai. Yeah, I see it.
That's what I'm with.
Marty, you have friends. I mean, you grew up in New Jersey. You're from New Jersey. Do you know anyone who's seen the drones?
No, I don't. That's why I saw Ed Dowd. He sent out a good tweet too. These drone videos that we're seeing, they could be equivalent to the Chinese people falling over before COVID that got everybody scared. Be aware of that. Remember, don't we all feel stupid for falling for the sick Chinese people falling over?
Yeah, I mean, but those were like we saw people like, what is this? What comes next after this? Then, like that one was like kind of obvious, right?
What do you mean?
Like they said they were falling over because of COVID. What are these drones? What are they going to say the drones are? Aliens?
Wouldn't be surprised if they ultimately come out with aliens. It feels very Project Bluebeamy.
Project what?
Bluebeam is
What is that one? Is that the roofs, the blue roofs?
The blue roofs.
no Project Bluebeam. That's around. I think it's a CIA project, essentially saying we're going to use aliens to scare the populace to garner more control, to force them to do things.
Buy Bitcoin.
Yeah. That's Project Bluebeam in one sentence. Aliens take control.
Okay, well, stay on
And
the
it's almost not yet. It's almost too perfect. It's almost too perfect too, like the disclosures on Capitol Hill, and
He's gonna go on.
and you have it, and then like, whoa, the aliens are here. It's like it's too perfect.
I don't understand what disclosures.
The
UAP
the unknown
disclosures.
objects, UAP disclosures.
Yeah.
Do you think what's the FBI director nomination name?
Cash Patel.
Cash Patel.
Kash Patel. First of all, do you think he's actually going to get approved?
It seems like it.
And
He
then,
seems like
do you think he's going to release the Epstein list?
He seems pretty adamant about doing it. He will.
Do you think he's going to release the JFK information?
Seems pretty adamant about doing it. We'll
Do
have
you think
the
we're going to
power.
find out about UFOs?
RFK is going to be in the administration. He's going to want that declassified anyway,
That's true.
right? He's got family investments in getting that declassified.
Do you want to bet on the Epstein list being released?
Yeah, it's not an exciting bet for me.
Why wouldn't that not be an exciting bet for you?
What do you want to take the other side of the bet? You don't think it's going to happen?
Yeah, I'll bet 100,000 sats that it doesn't get released.
Well, actually, I talked about this with Whitney last time she was on.
Easy
That's what
math,
she's-
by the way.
That's what she's worried about, is that you just get a limited hangout. There will be some Epstein files released, but it's not the whole shebang.
Yeah, we'll get like a redacted bullshit or whatever.
Yeah, and I get it. Like, if you get the redacted bullshit, is that releasing it? Would I win the bet?
No, you would lose the
Okay.
bet.
Yeah, so
And
no,
the American public would lose, most importantly.
yeah, I'm not taking the bet.
I was just trying to get some easy money.
You know what? This time's different, Marty, isn't it? This cycle? This time's different?
I don't know. Could be. Could be. You have to stick around and find out. You have to come in, week out, as we describe whether or not this time is different.
Before we end, can we pull up halving tracker? Because Marty said this is a super cycle. So Marty thinks this is going to be like the biggest cycle of all time. That it's going to be such a big cycle. There's going to be no more cycles. You're going to be like, please, Mr. President, bring back the cycles. And meanwhile, this is still the weakest cycle we've ever had. It's a weak cycle.
It's coming back.
It's a weak cycle.
It is weak.
So it's the exact opposite of super cycle right now.
It's going to get stronger. To DJ Maestro, who's claiming that I am high AF in the chat. No, I'm just extremely jet lagged.
He didn't sleep when tired.
No. And Rob has let us know in a secret group chat that he has a call that he has to get to. So we do have to wrap up. Rob, I don't want to hold you up. And more importantly, I don't want to hold the other person on the other side of the call up.
Okay, Rob, final thoughts. Thanks for joining us.
Final thoughts. It's a great time to be in Bitcoin. Just keep on building. I would say just stay humble. Gotta take it in. We're winning, guys. This is what winning looks like. There's so much winning that we could. You're going to be so tired of all the winning.
Stay humble,
Please, sir,
thanks,
no
man.
more winning. No. I'm tired of winning.